All right, all right, all right. Where did I go? Oh, there I go. I forgot how to use my own channel. Those of you that are gonna come over here and chill with us while I'm waiting on Nina to get here, we're gonna continue our conversation. I thought it was going quite well. Y'all come on in and chat. If you were over there in her chat, come on in over here and we'll continue to talk about it. I thought I'd put a catchy little title up there so people will be like, "Oh my god, what are they talking about in there?" Yeah, I'm gonna I'll do this for a little bit and then I'll call it a night. How y'all doing? Hope y'all had a good drive over here. We got four people in the viewing this, so there's only two of y'all here. I don't know where the other two are. I hope Nina finds her way over here. I guess she's charging her phone. Or she's getting on her what you call it. I really don't have a topic. I mean, I just was I just thought I'd supply the platform for it. Oh, there we are. So the polls just closed. It looks like they're counting. Do y'all have a prediction who's gonna win? Anybody have a prediction? Who's gonna potentially win the election? Who do you want to win? You notice I got the little coffee shop backdrop so we could have like a little coffee shop conversation here. Mainstream media says Trump is projected. Trump. I hope everybody got out there and voted. That'd be awesome. You did your civil duty. It is 10:12 here or 10:32 here currently. I noticed there aren't a lot of creators on right now. So I guess everybody's like watching the election stuff. So we've been on for 2 hours and something, Nina and myself. She had 32 views on her live tonight. That's awesome. That's awesome. I hope she knows that because I think that's amazing. How many of y'all watch my upload during the day? Is there anybody in here that watches those? You watch them on replay? Um, any of that stuff? Yeah, that was a lively chat. I'm hoping to bring it over here. That way people can, kind of chat in here. To tweak or not to tweak? That is the question. I really wasn't planning on going live tonight. I was just gonna be a support person for Nina. So I don't want y'all to think, man, 12 ain't got nothing to talk about. What's his problem? Sometimes I mod so many places I can't watch all of everyone's stuff. Yeah, like bar hopping, you're right. Welcome to the 12 gauge lounge where everybody has a drink That is their favorite, and the prices are right. We don't throw you out until you're puking all over the floor and snorting up all the cocaine in the bathroom. People are in chat during the day. Yeah, I see it. I see it. You see it, right? Where everybody knows your name. Definitely, most definitely. So, what do y'all think about some of our theories that we were talking about over there on Nina's channel? Do y'all think that we were talking facts, or do you think that we're just far out there? Because I believe, honestly, in my whole heart, that if was a premeditated attack, no matter who did it, whether it was Koberger, whether it was you know anybody, whoever it was, obviously they could get close enough to go into that house and do what they did. It was all bullshit. Okay, I got you. Bullshit. Y'all think that whoever did this got close enough to these individuals that know this location, whether they could go in there and do what they did without any fear of being caught, because it happened rather quickly, but at the same time, it still was not rather quickly. You know what I mean? So y'all refresh my memory, okay? Because I mean, when it comes to time frames and stuff like that, I get them confused sometimes. So tell me, how long did this crime actually take from beginning? Assumption. I mean, because we're assuming here. So he gets into whoever it was got into the area, and we're gonna say so Koberger because he is the one that they're trying for this murder. So how he got into the area 4:07 was the last pass. So from 4:07 to what, 4:23? Is that what they're saying? That was the time frame of the murder? 4:07 to 4:23? Because quote unquote, I guess, at 4:23 a car can be heard leaving the area at a high rate of speed. Isn't that what the PCA says? Okay, 4:04 to 4:21. Okay, so that's still that's still some time right there, right? That's not necessarily quick if you're looking at it on that point of reference. I mean, I don't think that's quick. I could be wrong. Do y'all think that's quick? That's a quick crime? I mean, because as somebody told me one time, you could stab someone 5 seconds or 5 times per second. So that is flying. And I read somewhere today that a lot of I was watching the police off the cuff, and I emailed him and I asked him if I could show one of his videos, and he said that I could, as long as I showed um the video or let him know the video and the date and time that I was showing it, which I don't have a problem with. And he was saying that this crime would have been so quickly done that that time frame would have not necessarily been that hard of a deal for one person to do. But once again, I've never been a police officer. I'm not going to be a police officer, so to me, reading that and watching the video that I've watched and shown, I mean, it seems probable to me that that could happen. The suspect vehicle number 1 can be seen entering the area a fourth time at approximately 4:04 a.m. Then what vehicle do we see at 4:07? Because there is a vehicle that comes by there at 4:07. And I'm not making that shit up. I'll pull Jeff's video up just to show you. Hold on, let me get YouTube up here. I'm not challenging you, Heather. I agree with what you're saying because I read that too. But there's a vehicle that comes around there, 407.28 or something like that. I usually have Jeff channel like at the first one. And if you haven't been to Jeff 8 channel, you might check it out. He does have some good stuff on this. I am giving him props. Hey, there's the bullshit video right there. It was still. Let me back it up. Okay. The reason that I even make this remark, okay? Well, I'm not. Hey, don't get defensive. I'm not challenging you. I believe you. I've read that before myself. I'm not challenging you. I'm in a good mood tonight, so I'm not challenging you. I'm not, I'm not saying that you're wrong. Let me put this. So right here, 40601, you can already see lights coming up here, right? Let me back it up a little bit. You said 404. Let's go from 404. Oh my God. I just read that. Made me choke though. Okay, so here's 404. Nothing's really happening. I think we already had a pass come by here at 403 and some change, right? So here's 405. It's sad that you know this so damn well. It's sad that I know this this case, this freaking camera footage. You watch it so much, you hear about it so much. Okay, there it is right there, 405. Car door slams. Car comes in, chills for a minute, backs out. So supposedly right now, he's doing the 3-point turn at the end of the road, and he's gonna come back by for the last time at 407 and 23 seconds, I think. See, from 405 to 407, that's like 2 minutes. Where the fuck did he go? It doesn't take that long to get down to the end of the road, but the 3-point turn, and then come back by. See, here he comes right now. You see the lights right there. See it, 23. There was a car horn. Okay, so you said I'm not challenging you. It says entering the area fourth time approximately 404. And at 420 a high rate of speed. So 404 approximately, okay? So 404 to 407. So 405, the car pulls in, backs out, go down the street supposedly, bust the 3-point turn, come back by. This is the last pass, right? So from 404, do they even put this timestamp in there, 407? I don't think this is even the last one that they talk about. They talk about 404 as approximately the last time he's coming through the area. How come they didn't use this at the last point of reference? Because he was turning around at 404? Is that why they used that point of reference instead of this one being the last time? Because it's confusing to me that it says what it says. Because to me, I was thinking when I first read this that 404 was the last time that he was rounding the apartments. And then I started watching these and I'm like, well, there's one more time. It's 407. The suspect vehicle number one. Y'all both did it at the same time. The suspect vehicle number one can be seen entering the area fourth time at approximately 404. Then be driving eastbound on King Road, stopping, turn around from the 500 Queen Road. Okay, that was the time, the very first time. And then it goes somewhere for 2 minutes and then comes back by the last time. So what I'm just confused on that. You get what I'm saying? Here, Nina, let me send you the invite. I was just wasting some time until you got back. Anybody else want to come up, you can hit that StreamYard and come up and chat with us. Let me take this down because I don't want to talk about this. But I just find that intriguing. Not yet? Okay. I just find that intriguing because, there's two different things going on there at two different times. But you're choosing the 404 one, which would have been the 405 on the camera, where he's coming in, stopping for a couple seconds, backing out, and then going in front of the 500 down Queen Road all the way to the end, busting a 3-point turn. And for 2 minutes, something happens, and then he comes back around and goes for the last time. Okay. Is that why it's so hard for me to understand that? Because the car that comes after the 404, 405 turnaround isn't suspect vehicle number one. So the one that is coming up at 407 isn't suspect vehicle number one? See, I looked at it as that was all one car, one. You get what I'm saying? It's like that was when the car came by, stopped in front of 500, backed up, went supposedly back down Queen, busted a 3-point turn at the stop sign, came back down and did the last wraparound, and then the crime commenced. So, I mean, because if that's true, then that person wasn't even out of the car yet when the crime was supposedly taking place. And I know approximately means so many things. Approximately could be, well, approximately from here to the end of the road, a mile away, that's where I saw the vehicle stop. That's such an ugly word. I don't like it. I mean, there's a chance that all 5 passes by the Linda Lang camera are the Elantra. They all sound the same engine-wise to me, but it's impossible 1 or 2 aren't the Elantra light bulb cam. Well, no. That's true. That's true. I don't have all the time things memorized. I really don't. I think they start at 338, right? Something like that. 331. I mean, I really haven't looked into this part in a while, so I don't have those camera. Jeff does, though. Let me look at one of his videos. He has those camera times. Nina, while we're waiting on you, I'm going to show this video. Not that it's going to matter one way or the other, because I don't really think that this Linda Lang camera footage is going to make a hell of beans at the trial. I don't even really think it might even make it to evidence. It might be suppressed. I know he has all the timestamps here. Here it is right here. So the first one starts at 3:30. So that's like 30 minutes. And I remember somebody talking about this in one of their streams, and they were talking about, I think it was Gray Hughes, honestly. He was talking about how long this 30 minutes well, let us know who wins, Sleuthen. Yeah, is a red state. So the first one is at 3:30:49. The second one is at 3:39, 3:56, 4:05, and 4:07. So if you look at these times, the first one coming around is at 3:30:58. Then supposedly the car goes around, comes back by 9 minutes later, or about 8 minutes and some change, and then goes back around the apartments, goes back around Walenta all the way around down Palouse Drive, comes back by at 3:56:59, and then does 2 more times before at 4:07:31 hit the last pass. So let me show this video. You know what would be interesting though? We can definitely, and I don't know if y'all are going to agree with me or not, but I think you hear those pebbles. You might even see those pebbles in the driveway there. What if any of those little rocks were in any of the tires, and they could forensically tie those little rocks or pebbles to any part of the tire that's in there? Any kind of fiber, a tree leaf, a branch, anything that could be stuck in those tire threads that could tie him to any of that stuff around that area. That'd be amazing, wouldn't it? Not that it would be amazing that, if he isn't the killer, but yeah, that Jeff H, he's not everyone's cup of tea for sure. But we like him here. We like him here at 12 Gauge Investigative. And Leslie and Billy, thank you so much for being here. We do understand that people do have to work for a living. Thank you for showing your love, though. We appreciate you and we're glad you're here. That would be crazy considering his cross country drive. Yeah, it would. But you just never know what You know what could make it? You know what I'm saying? Like, get this. You know that little part of your car where you press the lever and it pushes the windshield wiper fluid through the tubes there, and sometimes you park under a tree and you get debris like leaves and pine cone needles and all kinds of that stuff, and that stuff just doesn't blow out when you're driving your vehicle. That's what I'm talking about. What if any of this stuff could tie to that tree or any tree around the area, and they can associate, hey, this guy's been in this area because this is the only tree that it could be. Does that make sense? Thank you, Leslie and Billy. That's so kind of you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I appreciate that more than you realize. So, can you imagine if, as they're taking his car apart, there's pine needles and they do forensic testing on those pine needles, and those trees aren't anywhere else other than a particular tree from a particular strand of tree, and they break it all the way down. They can get that scientific. You know what I mean? It's like, wow. I'm sure she knew he was weird already. Siblings always think their siblings are crazy or what or weird. So there was that video by Jeff H. If you haven't checked out his channel is called Jeff H the Guitarist, and he has some IDAHO4 stuff. And also, if you see that little it says PT at the bottom. Usually that's his video stuff. So if you see that on somebody else's and they're using it, they're probably using Jeff stuff because that is like a watermark that's associated with his videos. So hey, I don't even expect it. I don't even expect it, but it's much appreciated. I know everyone works hard for the money, and in this economy, we can't, just throw it out there. I appreciate it. I don't expect anything from you guys other than, you being here and hanging with me. That means more than anything. Weird considering the statement released by the attorney on behalf of the family. Yeah, PR. So I don't know what that watermark is or where it comes from, but if you see that on the bottom of a video, that's pretty much Jeff's little watermark. Okay, Adobe Premiere logo. Oh shit. Jeff is Papa Rogers. Hell no, he isn't. We all know Aaron Rodgers is Papa Rogers. Or no, here's one I got for you. Okay, hang with me here. Hang with me here. Since Christ Church used Mr. Rogers to burn down a bridge in his video and used the Mr. Rogers kind of little intro stuff, secretly, Christ Church is telling us that Mr. Rogers was indeed Papa Rogers. Can you dig that? Can you dig that? Mr. Rogers is secretly Papa Rogers. The bridge, it symbolizes you burning your past. It's like this, okay? If you've ever grieved somebody, I always told my client to write a letter. And if you couldn't physically take it to the gravesite, or you couldn't bring yourself to do it, or the only thing that you could do was burn the letter to physically say goodbye that way. Burning symbolizes an end, but the ashes rising symbolize a new beginning. Do you get what I'm saying? Yes, it is, Heather. I'm sticking to it. I am sticking to it. I don't really care. I mean, I wrote Wilson about the Papa Rogers account attempting to link his church to the crime. He didn't respond, probably because I told him I don't align with his religion. Well, I do consider that video was a reply. Oh, so he's replying to letting go of you. Hey, Nina, how you doing? Long time no see. Oh my goodness. I've been trying to I've been trying to keep the folks, entertained while you were gone. We can't hear you that well. We can't see you anymore either. You have your cam on? You went away. Hey, Jack Johnstone, how you doing, buddy? What the sound at the noises at 4:14:56 and again at 4:15:03? The curious sound after a single dog bark. I don't know. That's interesting. I gotta go. I gotta go check out those timestamps because I do hear dog barking in that video at 4 o'clock. What did they say at the band field? Did you hear that noise? Did you hear that noise? Nina went away. Hopefully she comes back because I'm getting tired. I can't do another 2 hours. Jack, thank you for being here, buddy. Glad you're here. Always a pleasure. My girl's probably going, man, you ever gonna get off that damn internet? I've waited for you 3 hours already and you still haven't talked to me. Nina, you got 36 views on your live. We're gonna make it go viral, watch. I can't say she's my girl yet. I haven't technically asked her to be my girlfriend yet, so I can't really say she's my girl. We're talking, so you go to bed. I'm shaming myself. Why are you doing that? Come back up here. They said they didn't stop for them because they thought they were fake cops. You are good, Nina. Come on. Come on back. Yes, did you hear that noise? My hubby falls asleep waiting for me to out YouTube down. Oh God. The worst side of me showing. I was only joking with you about the Linda Lane. And I'm only trying to get people to come over here with the title, so you're all good. I'm glad that you did the live tonight. You need to do more of them.
That was a great live, Nina. I agree. I agree. And get up
Who
here.
the
Come.
hell?
You ain't
Who the
finished.
hell is this guy? How did he sneak up here?
The sliding glass door was open. I just came on in.
I thought you were Nina. I didn't even look when I clicked that thing. I was like, all of a sudden I see your name. I'm like, what the?
Oh man, see, I should have been working on my
Welcome.
best Nina impersonation, so I could have rolled
Yeah,
a little bit.
welcome, Jeff H. Everyone's cup of tea. Here he is, guys.
Everyone's cup of tea. I'm gonna change my name to Earl. Earl Grey.
Yeah. So what's going on, Jeff?
Not too much. Not too much. Just hanging out in the backyard with the dog. He's looking at the stars, and so am I. Man, you can really see the stars. I see old Ryan's belt, and just kind of keeping an eye on the election stuff too. And
Yeah, are you at Wawa Park?
um, yeah, yeah, that's where I'm at. Yeah, that's a ticket. I don't know what it is, but I picture Brian in jail. I don't know how much access he has to just materials and stuff. And I just picture him like in jail, like looking at like, okay, here's a park that's got hardly any cameras, surely bad cell phone service. Yeah, that's where I was. But I don't know. I don't know how much details and research he can do of that sort.
Have you ever watched that creator, Police Off the Cuff?
Yeah, yeah. Kind of an older guy, a little bit. When
Yeah,
I
he was talking in that video. That's why I found it so interesting, is because he said something. He said, defense attorneys, where are you, Nina? Oh, there you are. He said defense attorneys, their one job is to defend their client, not the public, not to go against the prosecution, not to do anything but to defend their client
right,
and to get them off. And when he said that, I thought to myself, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. So they're going to say a lot. He said, when she said she believed her client was innocent, why wouldn't she say that?
right,
Why
right.
would she
I would
say
expect that.
something different, right? Like, she going to stand up there and say, you know, Your Honor, I believe my client's guilty, but I have to say he's innocent based on the little bit of discovery that we do have at this point.
Right. And a lot of people say that I've heard, that they just don't do that. This is rare. This is a unique thing. But I mean, the defense attorney and the what's it the Trayvon George Zimmerman's attorney said in this case there should be a third designation. It's not just innocent or guilty. There should be a third, completely innocent, because my client is completely innocent. It's like I don't think it's completely uncommon for a. And like you're saying, yeah, that's her job. That's her job, is to create as much reasonable doubt, and
Right.
to get their clients,
What do you
off.
think? What do you think about that, Nina?
I think either way it goes, nobody's going to believe it. If he's found guilty, then the this side's not going to believe it. If he's found innocent, this side's not going to believe it. The only thing I can hope for is that whatever verdict it is, I hope that the evidence shows it 100%, no doubt, no second guessing, no Idaho goblins did it in the tunnels or nothing like that, that is proven either guilty or innocent 100%.
I agree
To,
with
where,
that.
to where either side can say, but
Well, we're still going to have that regardless.
but maybe not as much.
Yeah.
I mean, because right now both sides are stuck. It's hard to find somewhere in the middle to where you can just discuss the case. It all boils down to guilt or innocence.
Well, I also asked that individual, his name is Bill Cannon. And I also asked him if he'd like to be on panel sometime. And he said he's really busy or he would jump up here. So you just never know if I'll have Mr. Cannon on panel and, him sharing his expertise. He's a retired New York City sergeant, I think, in the police force.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he's got the New York accent and everything, right? I do. I
Yeah.
definitely know the guy you're talking about.
Yeah.
And as
I mean,
far as Ann Taylor saying her client is innocent, what's she
mhm.
supposed to do? Go up there and say, "Well, I'm not really sure, but I'm getting paid $2 million to defend him, so yeah, he's innocent."
She probably wanted to say he doesn't have bushy eyebrows, but she can't because you can see that part.
Right. Y'all photoshopped bushy eyebrows on my client when he was arrested. I mean, I
He's
heard
either guilty or the most unlucky person in the world.
Right.
Jeff.
Yeah, victim of
Jeff and
a
I have
coincidence
talked-
after coincidence after coincidence.
Yeah,
So
Jeff and I have talked about that before. He chose the wrong night to be driving a white Elantra in Moscow.
ain't that the truth? With his phone turned off.
Yeah.
What's that? What's all those lines from that movie Airplane? I picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue. I picked the wrong night to be driving around in my Elantra.
Oh my God.
Remember that? You know the movie I'm talking about, right?
You know it. You know it.
You know it. You seen it, right? You see it.
Yeah, you see it. So, I mean, those are a lot of coincidences, you know? I mean, and to be fair, there are a lot of Elantras and a lot of white vehicles in that area. It's a college, you know, it's going to have a lot of different color vehicles. So, nothing's 100% concrete, even though, you know, we've seen multiple camera views and stuff. I mean, who's to say that that camera just didn't give us the clearest image we needed? You know, maybe the police got that image and we don't. We got the wish.com camera footage, you know? We didn't get the Elon Musk version, you know.
Right. I think too, it's like the the way like an alibi is supposed to work. It's supposed to say, see, it's impossible. I couldn't have done it because here's where I was. I wasn't anywhere near there. And I imagine that's what they're going to try to do with Cy Ray's help. I just wonder if Cy Ray isn't going to see, when he I mean, I don't know how much information and stuff they will show him or share with him, but is there a possibility he gets to the point and he takes that out that he left himself, like, he kind of said he leaves the door open to be wrong. um what if he looks at it and says, oh, I can't say for sure though that that he wasn't there. And he's surely got to realize that his testimony being able to say he wasn't there because Cy Ray said so, that he's
Right.
got to know the weight of his opinion on that.
Hey Tom, there's the link. If you'd like to come up, I'd really like to hear your thoughts on some other things. I understand if you don't want to do that, you know, right away. So he says there are Elantras, but how many have their front license plate not there? That's a good point.
Right.
And how
Yeah,
many
didn't they
were
say so?
driven
There's
by
something like
am-
22,000 total, but yeah, how many without the license plate?
and how many with their phone off?
Right. And it says, they've ridiculed Fry for stating we have our man. What was he supposed to say? We're arresting someone and flying them across the country.
I
Just
hope
hope
we have the right guy.
Yeah, I hope he's the right guy. You know, the car scene on King and Queen is a 2011-13, and it wasn't until they had his name and viewed Pullman footage to increase the range to include 14 and 15. Well, they could have, I guess, you know. Andy Libby, how you doing? Long time no see. What makes you so sure that's when they decided the year of the car? We agree to disagree in here. Remember that. We get along.
God damn, Heather.
I know it
I'm
always
joking. I
starts
love you,
shit.
Heather.
Always starting shit.
But you got to admit, though, she is everyone's cup of tea, though. See, she's got that going for her.
How about that one that drove by when the house was being demolished? That was green. Lime green. I don't believe we know that the phone was off. Oh, Tom, awesome. Everybody, welcome Tom Van to the panel.
Hey,
Welcome, Tom Van.
How did you, Tom?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes. Yes, we
Okay.
can. I wanted you to come up on panel because I had some questions about the K-bar knife that you were describing the other night. Can you give us a little bit more insight on what you said the other night when I had the copyright and the show got kind of canceled or whatever? Are you there?
Tom.
I'm getting a lot of feedback.
Okay. Do you have YouTube open?
Yep.
Okay. You need to close that tab, if you will.
Or just
If
mute
you're
the
in,
YouTube and listen
yeah,
on
or just
StreamYard.
mute it.
Okay. What were you going to ask about the K-bar 12 gauge?
Oh, you were stating the other night about how the K-bar would make certain wounds.
Yeah.
If you could repeat that, and as far as your expertise on all this stuff, I'd like to hear some more on that.
Well, that's based upon the knife. All knives are sharp edges. It's technique that you can do with it. It's a 7-inch blade fixed. So if you stab a person, you're going to have a stab mark, the length of from top to bottom. But if you push it in and you pull that knife down 12 inches, it's going to look like a machete did it. And then with all wounds, after that, the bigger the cut, the more the wound spreads open in a V shape, and the deeper you go. So somebody comes in there and they see that, then they see a stab wound, or then if he takes it and turns it, if the K-bar has a serrated edge and you push down, or if a person's fighting back, they're moving, so it's going to look like a tear.
Okay.
So it's hard to say, so they can be different wounds. My theory would be, and it's just a guess, if this was
Okay.
Brian, if this is Brian in his first time, and Kaylee woke up, he's going to panic, and he's going to start stabbing wildly. Remember that show you showed me of that man on Forged with Fire stabbing that person?
Yeah.
He stabbed 30 times in 10.2 seconds. I recorded it. So
Wow.
that can be done, and if you stay away from, like I was telling Jeff at that night too, if you're going to stab in the chest area, your blade's not going to go in as much because of the ribs. You got to turn it sideways, sharp edge towards the wall. Then you have a much better chance. And that would tire you out. That could dull the blade. And that's why we were taught, I don't know what they're taught now, but we were taught stab underneath the sternum, not center, a little bit over, because you got the aorta there. You don't want to get a lot of blood on you. You push down the knife so it's perpendicular and you push up. And when you do that, you are stabbing, you're going to cut their large intestine, diaphragm, liver, and lungs. So that's why I can see no screaming. And when I was in the Marines too, I saw about 11 people in knife fights and nobody screamed when they were stabbed. And some of them did survive. And I asked him about it. He said, well, it felt like I was being punched in a fight.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until after the adrenaline came down, he said, then it started to hurt a lot. So a person could, like I said, the number of wounds that are different, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. And that could also be, from speculation point, he might have done that to make it look like there was more people. It's
Good
like,
point.
yeah,
Good.
like we said, we always kept our K-bar knives unsnapped. It will stay in the sheath. So he could pull it out, and this is how I met Jeff. He was asking about it. The bottom end of a K-bar knife is like a hammer. And we were taught the Marines are always used by different agencies and stuff. So if you're doing something, like that, and if somebody's sleeping, you go in, you want to knock them out first. And if I was him, let's say that's once again assuming Brian did it. And if I was him,
Right.
what I would do is I would bring a pistol with me for backup in case things go sideways. Now, number one, I would never use a knife. That's just ridiculous. Just buy a 22 with a silencer. Because contrary to popular belief, silencers aren't pure silencers, but the lower the caliber, the less gunpowder, the less noise it will make.
Right.
So that's what I would do, but it could be done in 7-8 minutes easy.
So do you believe that one person could subdue two people at once?
Well, this is the thing I don't know, 12 gauge, is that when he goes in there, and I know there's different theories, but let's assume Maddie and Kaylee are in the bed sleeping. So the biggest thing you don't want to do is noise. You don't want people to have a lot of noise. I would knock them out first if I could. If I had to use a knife and I was sick that way, I would knock him out. And then if he was stabbing Maddie first, Kaylee could have came to. And the first thing she's going to do is try to go backwards, get away from the knife.
Right.
And I think if he panicked, he could do all those nasty different type wounds because she's moving, he's moving. And then if her face was broken up, like some people have been insinuating, you can do that with the bottom of a K-bar knife easily. So
that makes sense.
I mean,
It's basically a hammer to the face, right? I mean,
yeah, you could do it like 5 or 6 blows. It doesn't take long. And as you saw from, like I said again, that show, you can stab a person really fast. And if you stayed in more soft tissue.
How quickly does a knife like that dull usually?
Well, it depends
your experience.
If you're hitting bone, it could dull really fast because you really don't have to hit that hard if you're in soft tissue. So we were taught that stay away from the bones, soft tissue. If you're gonna do anything with their throat, turn them over so that the blood goes into the bed or something like that, if you can, because you don't want to get that stuff on you. And I don't know how much he had on him, but look at I think I said this another time. Look at the O.J. Simpson case. He stabbed Ron Goldman 17 times, and his Bronco only had a few blood smears inside.
Right.
So it's people think, well, there had to be screaming, there had to be blood all over the place. I would say most of that blood came out afterwards as the person's bleeding out. But 11 times does not make me an expert by any means. But that's what I saw. And he might have just came down. He heard Xana. He had to go do something. She might have said somebody's here. He gets up. He could hit him with one slash to the neck, which the coroner said he had. Push him back, onto the bed, which would account for some of the blood we saw with the mattress. And then the blood trickling out, his head would be towards that wall. The blood would hit that. I mean, that's what I'm thinking of. And then finish off Xana. They could have been, I think they would have been gone faster for that.
And he's got total element of surprise. He knows exactly what's going to happen next. They have no clue what's going on.
Yeah.
Do you believe that there was any fighting back? Possibility have any chance to fight back against any of those?
It depends on what you mean by fighting back. When a coroner or medical examiner looks at it, they're looking at wounds on their hands and arms and stuff like that. If they go into a crime scene, you're looking at is furniture tipped over, indicating a more big fight going on. But even if they fought back, you could, once again, stabbing fast, Kaylee could have a lot of wounds on her, and the whole fighting back lasted 5-6 seconds.
Right.
And he might have even continued. So it's by itself, it's too hard to tell for me. But I could see, like, for example, if Xana grabbed the blade of that knife, which I would never recommend anybody ever do, if you take your fingers and just find out how much flesh is between there and the bone, it's not much at all. So it could have been one grab and that happened. But people will tend to think, oh, she must have been really trying to grab it all the time. I don't think so.
Right. Any possibility that, if he's with any, criminology experience, that he would just cut her fingers afterwards to make it look like defensive wounds?
I don't see any upside to that, Jeff.
Yeah.
And like I said, anything's possible, but
but just no real advantage to doing that.
Yeah, the thing about using a knife, the only reason people use it if they want to really inflict nasty wounds on somebody, or that's all they can afford. Something like, I don't see why using a knife the chance of DNA and all that type of stuff gets too high, and you want to be out of there real quick.
I have a question for you, Tom.
Yeah.
Leslie and Billy says, ask him if he thinks Ian and Harsh would know all about knives and where to stab them.
I don't know too much about him. The little bit I saw, and this is just my take on him, he seems a little off. I don't know. He could. Anybody see the sad thing about it with the internet? You can find all this stuff I've talked about on the internet,
Right.
and that's the hard part too. Is it doesn't take. It's not rocket science per se.
Right. Right.
And then if you were, if you don't want to have throw off spatter, just don't arc your hand over the head and stab somebody. You don't need that. You can just easily insert a knife. It goes in like butter for, I don't mean to be flippant about it, but it goes in real easy.
Right, exactly. And I've shown some videos and I've read some articles in some of my other library videos that I have on this case, and it describes exactly the way you just said it. I'm glad that you gave it some life though, because when you're reading something, it's kind of difficult to get the perspective. I really appreciate you giving us that perspective.
But, like
Go,
I said, oh, sorry, I'm for interrupting.
go ahead, go ahead.
See, that's why as I look at that, we really have to see the autopsy report. And, if people think 51 is a lot of wounds, but it being done extremely fast. And the only thing I can think of, anger, he freaked out, that whoever did this freaked out. This is their first time. And that's the thing about these kind of crimes is everything, you can't make a perfect crime, especially with a knife. If you're going to use a knife, don't do it. Because you're too close. Things can happen to you.
Also, I don't know the psychology of things, but is there any possibility that, of the 51, if there's a notion of like of sexual nature, like this was possibly somebody he was ruminated upon or was couldn't have, and that there's a connection to, that he's destroying something that he couldn't have. He couldn't have a female of this sort, or I'm just speculating, but I mean, it does seem like a lot of stab wounds, but if you're going at it with that kind of a whatever is going to get the rage up that high.
It doesn't necessarily have to be all rage, though, Jeff. Like here's what I was thinking about and speculating about the other day was he wanted to know what it felt like to do things. And when he put his questionnaire out there, maybe he decided I'm just going to do this my way. He might have just wanted to go in and kill one person, but then things happen and you have to adjust and adapt. And I think
Right.
if Brian, I think if he came out, he knew there's going to be some noise, and he might have saw Dylan, but he can't waste time because 911 could be there in 4 or 5 minutes.
Right.
And that's maybe why he took off so fast. He doesn't know what that person did if he saw her, for example.
Right. Right.
Nina, do you have any questions for Tom or any comments?
I put in one of the comments that I put in chat is I had read like the different things that can happen to the knife, that it can dull, the tip can break off, it can get twisted, and that if all that happens, that's like different, that it can cause it to look like different wounds.
Sure, Nina, that could happen, but I'm thinking more of breaking off the tip. How hard are you stabbing? And you're most likely going to be hitting bone to break off the tip. And that's what people always think of the chest area and stuff like that. But there's too many rib bones in there. It's a 50-50 shot. And
Didn't the dad say that her liver was destroyed?
he
I mean,
said,
the wounds
yeah,
were to that point that the liver was destroyed in that
see,
region.
that would be more indicative to me, 12 gauges. He stabbed right underneath the rib cage, pushed the knife down and pushed up. And then that would go through all those organs that I said earlier. And that one knife wound could kill a person. Your body's going to go into shock extremely fast. You're going to bleed out extremely fast.
Right.
So it's.
Could a novice person research this stuff enough to be proficient to do that, in your opinion?
Well, they
You
would
being
have.
in the military, how long did it take you to really get in your mindset that you could be that proficient?
Well, what we did in basic training in the Marine Corps, you get knife fighting, but it's mostly how to defend yourself if somebody else has a weapon, knife. And we were taught to keep the knife close to our right side if we're right-handed and use our hand to pull them into it. Because you stick a knife blade out, somebody's just going to knock it out. So what we did, I was going into S2 intelligence, so we required more training with knives just in case, and we had a Navy SEAL train us. And he was very, very good, and we practiced that way in they're just like simulated dummies, just to see what it was like, the feel, how you would handle a knife. Anybody could do it. I think you'd have to practice a little bit though at home.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, because I don't know how, when you look at fights or knife fights and stuff like that on the internet, people are wailing. They're not really doing things strategically. You know, these, like that guy that stabbed him in that forged metal one.
Right.
Netflix. I don't know if you'd want to do it that way. I don't know what his end game, what he was actually trying to do or accomplish with them. Did he want to torture them? That's why I think that the autopsy is going to be important too.
Right. I got another question for you. It says, stabbing someone is that like gutting an elk or any animal?
I have never been hunting outside of pheasant hunting when I was younger, so I wouldn't know the whole
Oh,
process. You'd have to ask somebody that's more. I've never done that. I just never done it myself. I just
okay.
know that our whole thing was 1 or 2 cuts and you're done, and get out of there. And that's why I said, I could just see him bringing a handgun. He owned 2 handguns in case things got too weird. I think he was surprised. I don't think he planned on going in to kill 4 people. It just happened that way. Who knows? He didn't know Xana was going to be up getting a DoorDash or any of these other people.
Yeah,
I,
there's a lot of variables that I was thinking myself as well. That the DoorDash driver within minutes of him driving around. I mean, the DWI hit and run outside of his residence. I mean, it would just the cards were not stacked in his favor if he's the one that did this. Man, he
well,
went through some obstacles for sure.
well, if you think about doing that though, 12 gauge, I think his plan was one, it's going to be quick, 5 minutes in and out. And then he was faced with this stuff. And at that point, do you go through with it? Like, for example, when he went into the bedroom upstairs, he saw Maddie and Kaylee. There's the moment where he has to make a decision. Am I going to do this or am I going to leave?
Do you
Yeah.
think my theory has always been that Kaylee was in her room with the dog, and that the dog alerted her to something going on across the hall, and then so I always wondered if he could see through Maddie's window from the back parking lot and just kind of watched and saw that, okay, she's alone in her room. If he saw the state that she was in, kind of like we see at the grub truck, that she's a little tipsy, maybe that was his intent, was just to go in there. He could slip into that one room, do whatever he was planning on doing, and then get out of there. But it was the dog that awoke Kaylee, and Kaylee walked across the hall. Maybe Kaylee didn't even know Maddie was being stabbed and thought she was just being, assaulted.
The problem with that for me, Jeff, would be this. I respect your opinion, but my problem
Sure,
for
sure.
me is
No,
that if he was doing that and Kaylee said to somebody here, I think that was actually Santa, but let's say Kaylee did that, she was coming in on him, it would be much more noisier for her to subdue her standing up. And I think that would have really, I would think Xana would hear that, if nothing else.
right.
I mean, a
Well,
lot
I
has to
wonder though,
happen.
him throwing her, Kaylee onto the bed, maybe after hitting her or as he's hitting her in the face a bunch of times with the hammer end of the knife, I wonder if that would sound to like somebody downstairs, like somebody's playing with the dog on Maddie's bed right above them.
Okay, with that too, though, let's go back to if Kaylee walks in on him, she's most likely going to scream or really shout loud. That'd be my
Right,
opinion.
right.
But if she was waking up and he sees that, he can do one of 2 things. He can put a pillow over her face, so she can't see where the knife is coming from. But that would happen. I think that part would happen pretty fast.
Right. Yeah, it does seem like scream prevention is like the is
Oh,
key.
well, yeah. If they
Right.
scream and you're up there, you gotta. What are you gonna do?
Right.
And then you're gonna. You don't want to get. You don't want to let them get DNA under their fingernails and all that. I don't think they fought
Yeah.
that long. And I don't know. It's just hard to know. I know Stephen, what's the other father's name? Maddie's, they might, or Santa's father, they thought their girls put up a great fight. I don't know if that's true or not, if they just want to believe that.
Right.
Right.
Because, the thing was, I think Dylan would have heard that, or at least Bethany, and I don't personally think that they knew or were in on it. I don't go for that. I don't know. And my thing is, I don't really know if Brian did it or not. I'm on the fence. I have to see more. I tend to think though he may have, because of all the evidence and touch DNA being on there. I just don't think that that's just a coincidence. They were tracking a white Elantra with no front plate. Now, when the trial comes, we'll see if there was a back plate on there.
What about Tom? You're if place yourself in this position of maybe being the killer, the knife sheath being left there. Like, how do you go in with the knife sheath? How are you carrying it? What would seem? What do you think would is how it went down?
Well, if he was wearing like Dickies coveralls, he could buy a belt that's a little bit bigger than his normal size and use that and put the sheath on that. That would be the best way to do it. Now, you do look like, you're walking in with a knife sheath holster, but
Mhm.
you could do it that way. I
But
think
then you've got to unbuckle the belt and then slide it through the opening of
yeah,
the sheath, right, to
sure,
get it off.
sure. Yeah, that, you're not going to pull that sheath off. It's too hard.
Yeah.
I think here's possibly what he did. He took it. I would unsnap it first, like I said. I don't, do all that business before. I think he went in there. He took it out. It was if it's Stickies, he can put that sheath and the knife in his front pocket. They got pretty deep pockets. He
Mhm.
could put it there. I think it came out, and I think during the whole when it happened, the adrenaline was really, really high, and I think he just forgot.
Hey Tom, do you have a channel by chance?
No, I'm too busy. I'm doing too much other
Yeah.
stuff. I'm the so
Tom is the reason I think that I bought a K-bar knife, is when I think
Yeah.
it's I heard about the butt end of the knife being like a hammer. I just had to feel that for myself, and I think I've always had
Well,
this
that
plan to
makes a
like
lot
do a
more
video.
sense. That makes a lot more sense the way you described, it actually, hitting somebody with it like a hammer. I know you've described that many times, but for some reason I just couldn't visualize it.
It's nice to
I,
hear a second person on the internet and YouTube talking about it. Thank you, Tom. I don't feel so alone now. It's like
well,
nobody else is like jumping on this theory. It's like, that's fine. I'm okay to feel
I think Jeff, because they don't own one, either they don't own one or they've never seen how hard that is on the bottom.
right. Yeah, I've been wanting to do a video where I took, I don't know, coconuts or a piece of sheet metal and do a video banging it in so you can really see. I mean, it is no different than the hammer I have from Home Depot.
No, the K bars are kind of heavy. They're not a cheap knife.
right.
Like I said, it's always technique in what you want to do.
Mhm.
And whoever did this doesn't sound like a professional at all. And
Yeah, I mean, many people are making this person sound like he had to be a ninja or, had to be a policeman or a military guy or someone that had the expertise and training in order to get in and out that quickly.
you know what though? There's one thing interesting. That house, it was not that dark. And if we go back to, everybody's probably heard or seen of that Maddie's TikTok video of the girls imitating each other, or young women
Hmm.
imitating each other. If you look on that wall behind the couch, it has over 200 lights. I freezed the TikTok thing and I counted them. And their speakers there have a light on it. So that living room would be pretty illuminated. And if you look at Maddie's room, she had light bulbs strung up too.
Yeah.
she did.
And those lights were still on when forensics was there against that wall.
That's
Everybody,
what I've tried to tell people as well, Tom. I've tried to tell them it wasn't as dark as people were thinking it was.
and it's not that hard. It's not that layout's not that hard. The house looks goofy from the outside, like it was just put together. Hey, let's do this year and we'll do this next year. But the inside is pretty straightforward to me. If you're going up, you know where Maddie's bedroom is because of her cowboy boots and the big M in there.
Right.
I'm sure if this person would surveillance would show, he might not know who. I think there's only 3 cars out in the front too, because Ethan's brother had the orange and black Jeep. So because Ethan would have access to Xana's car, so it'd be
Right.
Xana, Kaylee, and Maddie, and he might not have known about Kaylee's new car.
What do you think when you're talking about the brightness of the room? My thought was that the reason the sheath was left there is because it was dropped in a dark room, and he's like, the last thing he wants to do is, knowing that how much you can see from the back parking lot of that room through the window, the last thing he wants to do is look for a light switch to turn the light on to try and find the sheath. Or do you think it was just because it was under her body a little that,
I think he might have lost it, Jeff, because when a lot of people haven't been in combat and stuff, and you can think of how you're going to do something, but then when it happens and the adrenaline in your mind does much different things, you can forget about something. If this is the first time somebody is doing this, they're going to have a whole new flood of new thoughts,
Right.
doing that. And
I'm
like
glad you said that. I'm glad you said that. That's a good thought right there.
yeah, I like, for example, with war and stuff, the thing that amazed me that you never see in movies is the sound of bombs and stuff and the earth shaking. The sound is it's like an earthquake in a way when you're by that kind of stuff. And I can see why people get, they don't shell shock, what they call PTSD now and stuff. I can see why that would happen easily. So same with these people. I just think if it was Brian again, I just think he just lost track of it. And he might have thought, like the other night, 12 gauge we were talking about, he might have cleaned it at home and just missed something. And he probably thought, oh, I cleaned it.
Right.
So, the people said he did a lot of dumb
And maybe at the
things.
time of his leaving yeah. And maybe leaving the 3rd floor, maybe he thought it was still in his pocket.
Yeah, well, see, killing somebody's not natural. And especially in this case, in war is one thing, at least, kind of the rules, kind of. But when you just go into a house and just going to take the lives of some people there and you've never done it, it's going to be a whole new experience for you, I would think. Because he could have easily, if he just wanted to kill them, just take a gun up there and wipe out everybody in the house.
That's a good point.
If that's your purpose, is to see what it feels like to kill somebody, or if you're trying to see what it feels like if you use a knife, it's a crude method to use. We would never done it. Like I said, we would just use a small caliber gun with a silencer. Silencers are legal in the United States. You just have to get a permit from ATF. So you could do it. And a 22 or 30 caliber, they're not going to make much noise at all.
What's
One
your
more
thoughts
question.
about how he got into his car without?
Hold on, Jeff. Hold on. I got a question.
Oh, gotcha.
It says one more. Does he think it happened at 2 or at 4?
I would say 4. I think that, and it's just based on the little bit of evidence we know. Xana with still texting, at that time, and TikTok, and I think that the thud, the dog barking, the whimpering, I think that leads me more to 4, that time period, not the earlier one. Yeah, that's just my opinion, though, and
Right.
and like a lot of people want to say it's the frats. I just don't see them. They would have been more sloppy because they had been drinking that night. They might have been smoking recreational marijuana or Molly or something like that. And the more people you have, the more noise you're going to have talking back and forth. And
Right.
everybody's not going to walk out of there clean. So that's why I just don't see them doing it.
And
Yeah,
you
this is
think
more heat.
they really would have been quiet while they did it? I mean, if they were intoxicated,
No, they wouldn't have
surely
been.
somebody would have started yelling, or would have been
Yeah, no, they.
raising their voice while they were killing or whatever. You know what I mean?
I
He would
agree
have
with
yelled
you.
like, "This is for Johnny."
Yeah, I don't think so. I just don't see them. No, they would be. They would have much, much more
I'll
evidence.
show you to talk about my shriveled up balls.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Well, we don't even know if there was an actual fight or if it was just verbal. Was it physical? Did it even happen? I don't know. You know,
Right.
there's all this stuff that just takes a lot more time. And I think Dylan heard noise, but I don't think she thought anybody was being murdered.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because, like I said, her stepmother, Patricia Monroe, in the New York Post of November 11th, 2023, said she spoke to it. She said she challenged all the readers. She said, I challenge anybody to be in their shoes, and they go to bed at night and they wake up and not knowing their friends are gone. And so I think it's going to be a preponderance of evidence that way. And um, at least for me, I just don't know. I think 4 is a better one. I just don't see. I got so tired of the Linda Lane stuff of seeing murders on the bumpers, and Kaylee was put in the back of a police car, and bean bags and tunnels, and the whole shooting match. I just don't
Yeah.
see that, and I just think, like I said, I don't think he would plan 4 people though.
I've always held true to that. To the second floor was collateral damage.
Um,
He heard or seen them, and they saw or heard him coming down the stairs, and he had to kill them. Like, they've already seen him.
yeah, he might have thought that he was quiet upstairs, or relatively quiet, and so he could have take time out to deal with Xana. He might not know about Ethan, but
Right,
like Jeff said earlier, these people weren't thinking, "Hey, somebody's in here to murder us." He knows exactly what he's going to do.
right.
And as far as motive and stuff, I don't really worry about that so much, 12 gauge, because I don't think like a psychopath would think. They do it for any reason possible.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
hey,
Exactly.
there's a family, I'm going to pick them, and I'm just going to go up there and do it.
And I
And
believe that's why the speculation has gotten so out of hand, because people are trying to find motive, and there's really no rational motive that we can really see that has not been ungagged.
what is a spirit box wrap that Heather's talking about?
I don't know.
What's
I don't.
spirit box wrap?
I don't know.
Okay, I just never heard of that. I'm sorry. Sorry, Heather. I don't
It's
know
got
what
to
that
be.
is.
I think that's a T-Rev
Oh,
reference that he uses the spirits box, and he's a rapper, and
mm.
of course, Koberger is somewhat of a rapper too. If that's really him doing that rap.
Hey, Jeff, I'll have you know that I live in the same state as Tommy Jude in Minnesota.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I got to find out.
Tommy, have you heard anything about Tommy? How's he doing? How did he
I don't
come out?
know him. I don't know him. I just saw him once, and I can't put up with it.
Yeah,
He doesn't sound well.
yeah.
And
Yeah, I do hope he's okay. I mean, I don't want anybody. I
no,
hate to hear of anybody. And I got to say, I enjoy Tommy's shows, but it's unfortunate that as I enjoy them and as I ask questions, I'm apparently a nuisance for doing so, and so it's hard. It's an equation that doesn't work. Works fine for me. I mean, there's nothing that people can say to me that are going to bother me. That's
You just got to quit going into the biker bar dressed as, like you're going to the library or something. I think that's what it is.
yeah. But I think the
yeah.
important things that I've learned from this 12 gauge of this whole stuff here is people are making a lot of absolutes. There had to be blood curdling screams. There had to be fighting all over, and that's simply not true. I mean, I would see more scream. It's possible, but I would see more screams if a person had a little more time to react. It's either going to be fight or flight, and
Right.
And that's why I can see Kaylee, if it's true she was found sitting up, she's going to be trying to push him back, maybe trying to, did she have a comforter over her? Did that take up blood and stuff?
Yeah.
You know, so that all that
Okay.
stuff has to be known, and I can see, but then again, I don't know, maybe there was blood from in the hallways. I don't know. I just don't know. They haven't said anything. And that's the hard part because we just don't know. So speculation runs rampant. I,
Exactly.
I felt sorry for Brent Kopacka, though. I just don't see him as a killer. I knew a
No.
lot of people with that post-traumatic stress syndrome, and they weren't like that at all. They wanted to get away from that kind of stuff. That's why the other night I was even debating about the killing fields in Texas. That stuff's so depressing to me. I'm glad I got out of, the Marines alive and everything, but sometimes I just my heart just goes out for those poor people. They're taking
Exactly.
it, they're
I
afraid.
mean, yeah. I mean, some of the topics that I picked aren't always, the best for mental health stuff, and I should be more mindful of that. But
Hey,
that
Tom,
case,
you with your amazing thinking on things, and not to switch over to like Kopaka, but you mentioned it, but his phone being wiped. Do you have any theories on? I mean, would somebody going through PTSD? Can you think of a reason why they would wipe their phone, or any
Who,
thoughts
who,
on that?
who said I was wiped and who did it?
Yeah, I thought right. Yeah, but I mean,
Uh,
I
you
don't
guys,
like.
we're gonna go probably 5 more minutes, and then I'm gonna call it because I'm getting really tired. Okay.
I don't know, Jeff. I haven't really studied that much about Kopaka. The only time I was watching, I think, is Embry's channel, and he's got these real elaborate theories about Kopaka being there, and I don't see Brent doing
Yeah.
that. I just,
Yeah,
and
I haven't gone too deep into that either because I really, I do feel like
no.
I think it's really disrespectful for all the guy had already been through to, then try and, connect him.
And Brent he was
To,
trained too. He wouldn't need that many cuts. He wouldn't need all that.
yeah.
He doesn't have I don't think Maddie or anybody slighted him. And I just don't see it.
So the large number of cuts is kind of revealing that it's maybe a novice, somebody that doesn't have a lot of experience doing.
Panicking. When you panic, when, somebody wakes up, what are you going to do? You got to stop them from screaming. You got to kind of
Right.
subdue them somehow. You might want to put a pillow over their face if you can. All that stuff happens, quickly. And he might have, if he had Dickies on with long sleeve and regular gloves, Kaylee probably couldn't get anything under her fingernails like that.
Right.
I think it's going to be more here. I want to hear Dylan more. What
Mm-hmm.
kind of sounds did you hear? What did you think it was? How long did Kaylee playing with her dog? How long did that last? Because he was in there for only 10 minutes or less or something like that. But that's a long time. It's a long time to do that kind of damage. And then if he's not in there, if he's only spending 1 or 2 minutes per person, he's not going to be necessarily bloody at all.
Right.
That all
Yeah,
depends on
like
a
you
lot
were
of things.
saying earlier, it takes a while for the blood to come out. Makes me think of like in Home Alone, the guy, the robbers would always leave the water on to flood the house. Well, that house takes a while. And like you were
Well,
saying
guys,
too,
thank you.
if
Thank
he
you
knows
so much
anything
for.
techniques.
Thank you all for being in the chat. Thank you all for supporting us over there on Nina's channel. Tom Van, thank you so much for being up here. You can hop up here anytime you'd like. Jeff 8, the guitarist, thank you so much for being here, Jeff.
Thank you, 12 Gauge.
I'd love to go longer. You know how I am, Jeff. I could talk about this.
Yeah, you got to work
For a long
tomorrow.
time. I just got to work tomorrow, and at the midday or midweek, so there's a lot going on. But thank you guys so much for being here, and I'm just gonna close it normally. Maestro, cue that music. If you guys want to stay up on the panel while I'm closing out, that's cool.